Okay, dear students, in this lecture, inshallah, we'll move to another topic in the penal law, which is the parole system. So we will define the parole system, and we will shed the light on the characteristics of the parole system, and we will evaluate such systems according to opinions of the penal law jurists and jurists of international criminal law also. And after that, we will move to the conditions regarding the parole system. Okay, what is the parole system? The parole system, it means the yearly release of a prisoner who agrees to be bound by certain conditions, or to abide by certain conditions. Like, it is a list made by the authorities, and it includes some certain conditions, and these conditions, if the prisoner accept and sign, then in this case he will be released before the end of his sentence. Like, for example, if this person is sentenced for 9 years of imprisonment, then after that he served 6 years of this total number of years of imprisonment, then he will be released after 6 years if he accepts the conditions made by the authorities, and he will be released after only 6 years, and he still has to serve the rest of his sentence, which is 3 years, but outside the jail. It's not in the jail actually. So the parole system, it is a release, but this release is not a final one. It means he doesn't complete the total number of years in the prison, but it is an yearly one. So he is released before he reaches the total number or the whole number of the years or the months that he has to serve in the jail. So this is the definition of the parole system. What is the characteristics of such parole system? Number one, the parole system doesn't mean that the state relinquishes its right of punishment. Like, when I, as a state, give this person the yearly release before he completes the whole number of years of included within the sentence, then in this case it doesn't mean that I relinquished my right to punish you for the crime that you have committed. This is simply because the released person can be brought back to the jail anytime if this person, within the time limit of the punishment, I mean the limit means here the rest of the years that he has to serve outside the jail according to the release or the yearly release. Then in this case, if he violates the conditions included within the parole system, he will be brought back to the jail. Why? Because he is still a convicted person, and he has to serve the whole number of years included within the sentence. So in this example that we mentioned here, the person is sentenced for 9 years, and he was released only after 6 years according to his approval to some certain conditions included within the paper of parole system. Then in this case he has to serve only 3 years according to the parole outside the jail or the prison. But if he violates within these 3 years the conditions included within the parole system, then in this case he could be brought back to the jail according to a decision made by the general attorney, and we will discuss this later. So number one, that the parole system doesn't mean that the state relinquishes its rights, since the state can intervene and end that kind of parole system, and she can the state, it can put him in the jail again. So this is number one. Now if the person is released, then any person convicted according to any sentence has been promulgated before by the judicial authority. This verdict or this judgment will be registered in the person's criminal record. So this is what is called the criminal record, or the in Arabic language السوابق الجنائية، أو إنه يعني الشخص من أصحاب السوابق. So in this case, the convicted person, when he is convicted, the judgment of this conviction will be put in his criminal record. So I, as a person, I have the lucus standi, and I have a benefit, or I have to apply for something that can erase or remove this judgment from my criminal record. When this happens after the final release, I mean when I complete my penalty, if I'm convicted for 5 years of imprisonment and I completed these 5 years of imprisonment, then in this case, if the crime that I have committed is a felony, I can apply for the restitution, or for the removal of the crime of my criminal record after 5 years of my final release, or of my the completion of the 5 years in imprisonment, or the sentence. So in this case, I can apply after 5 years. But this act or action of restitution, according to which I require the removal of the conviction or the crime from my criminal record, I can only do this when the release is a final one. It means when I end the whole number of years according to the sentence. So if I am released yearly according to the parole system, I cannot do this, since I did not finish the whole number of years. For example, here, John was convicted of a rape for the first time, so there is no recidivism, and sentenced for 7 years. So this is kind of felonies, and according to the law, the Palestinian law, if the crime is a felony, then John can apply for a restitution only after 5 years, after the end of the whole 7 years. But if there is a kind of recidivism, then in this case, this number, I mean the 5 years, will be 10 years. So John can apply for his restitution after 10 years. But if there is no recidivism, then in this case he can apply for his restitution after 5 years, after he ends and completes the 7 years. So he was released only after 4 years. Like he was sentenced for 6 years, but he was released only after 4 years according to the parole system. Now he can apply for his action of restitution or rehabilitation only after the end of the 6 years. So when he is released after 4 years, he cannot apply for the restitution, since he didn't complete the whole 6 years. But if he complete the whole 6 years, then in this case he can apply for his restitution after the end of the 6th year, because it's the whole number of years included within the sentence. So this is what we mean by saying that the act of restitution, or even the action of the restitution, is not connected with the parole system, but it is connected with something called the final release. The final release happens when the person completes the 6 years, whether he completes them all of them in the prison, or some of them in the prison and the rest of them, like here, 4 years in the prison and 2 years according to the parole system outside the prison. Then when he completes the whole 6 years, then he can apply for the restitution. So number one, we say that the parole system is not, or doesn't mean that the state relinquishes its right to punishment. Number two, the parole system is a grant, so it is given from the authorities or the state to the prisoner person, but it is not his right. I mean, even if I am a good person in the prison and I behave really well, it doesn't mean that I have the right to gain what is called parole system.